morning, my friend. How are you, Joster? Nothing in the world that I would want to film more for its very first video on my new camera phone than you. You look tired, but I'm going to take you to the park. I bet that'll wake you up. Oh, did I not say that yet today? I was thinking of taking you to the park. Would you like to go to the park? Do you want to go to the park? Okie dokie. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. Whoa! Well, we just made our way outside for the first time, and what a beautiful day it is. I think we're gonna head off to the park, and on my way out the door I ran into the mail lady. Guess what she had? That's right, my new camera lens that you awesome viewers bought me. Thank you so much for the positive people that want to see this channel get better. You're the people I make these videos for. Well, of course, every single time we come to this park, they're out here farting around doing something. Today's no exception. I think they just make up excuses to be out here. I don't know. I've tried coming out here at as early as 8 a.m. all the way to like 3 in the afternoon, and there's always some ding-a-ling out here messing around, doing yard work. I don't understand it. I wouldn't even mind quite so much if they were actually doing something and actually nice, but there's no way that in one park every single day they need to have the same worker out here every single day. Unreal. Anyway, guys, how are you? When I wish I would have posted this yesterday. I wish I would have said it yesterday, but for all Patreons, tomorrow, well, I guess it would be today when you're seeing this, Friday at noon, I'm gonna do a live chat for you guys on Patreon. So noon Pacific time today, Friday, December 14th. No, what is it? What month is it? July 14th? Yeah, July. We're gonna do a live Patreon. So hopefully you can all make it. If not, go ahead and send me a email some point today through Patreon and put what your question is or what you want maybe me to talk about. And right now there's really nobody for him to play with. He's just nosing around. But last night I had a pretty great experience. I was looking through all my notes thinking, what do I want to vlog tomorrow? And something popped out at me right away. Now usually what happens is like I have saved an idea, and as soon as I look at whatever it is that I've saved, I know right away what it is. And this time I had actually saved like a whole list of addresses, and what I had actually saved on there isn't what I'm gonna vlog today. I saw something else on there. It's a house pretty close to another famous house that I've vlogged once before, but I'm actually going to take my new camera lens out there, re-vlog the old place that I already did, and then the house right across from it. This house has had some of the most famous residents in pop culture, and when I tell you who has lived there, you're going to be astounded. What's going on over here? Alright, they just kicked on the sprinklers again. I talked to one of the guys who is here with his dog, and he's like, yeah, they had the sprinklers on an hour ago too. He's like, they're just killing the grass, giving themselves a job to come out and do every day. So since they turned the water on, we're out of here. We're gonna go drop Jaw off and go do the vlog. Alright, just opened up the mail, and there it is. Looks pretty much like that one, doesn't it? Better. It should. Thank you so much, guys. And by the way, in case anybody's wondering why the live stream tomorrow is Patreon only, it's because that's one of the rewards, is that if you're a Patreon, I do one live stream a month. Well, we are out here at the Innes Brown house once again. You've seen it in many commercials, many TV shows. You've seen it as Harrison Ford's house in Blade Runner. But what I love it the most for was the horror classic by William Castle, House on Haunted Hill, starring Vincent Price. And you actually see this shot with Vincent Price's face hologrammed right in front of this, and he says, I am Frederick Lauren, and I have rented the house on Haunted Hill tonight so that my wife may give a party. She's so amusing. There will be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. Now I know that I've already at one point vlogged this before, but now I have this spectacular wide-angle lens that I can actually fit everything in And this happens to be, like I said, right directly across the street from another famous house that I wanted to vlog today. Now, I'm not going to cross the chains because they actually have them up today. Last time I was here, the chain wasn't up. They had it undone, so I just walked across. But if you look back at my earliest days of vlogs, you'll see a little bit of this house, and I just thought I'd put it in there since I thought it was really fascinating that when I started looking around, I found that this house right down here, across from it on the corner, was it inhabited by maybe, like I said, maybe some of the biggest names in pop culture ever. So let's go check it out. Now, this historic house that we're going to see is sometimes referred to as the Castle or the John Philip Law House. And John Philip Law, if you're just not familiar with the name, he was a big star in the, I guess, the 60s and 70s kind of. I mean, I really only recognize his name from when I saw Barbarella. But he owned this house for many years and actually would rent it out to a lot of famous people. Some of those people being Barry Maguire from the New Christie Minstrels, who were pretty famous at the at Ledbetter's. That was one of the bands that recorded a live album at Ledbetter's and used to perform there. It was also inhabited at one point by Bob Dylan. It was also inhabited by Andy Warhol. It's now owned by John Getty, but this is the house. It was also inhabited at one point by the Beatles, if you can believe that. Now, most recently, the long-term owner of this was Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And he recently sold it, and like I said, John Getty bought the property. But I just thought this was so cool to find out that Andy Warhol used to live here. The Beatles, Bob Dylan. This was basically a rental house for celebrities. Pretty neat. And there's actually some other pretty famous residents that inhabit this street, but I'm going to save this for another time. I just thought this was so cool, and the house was just spectacular looking. Just look at that driveway. Think of that driveway. Think of the Beatles walking around there. I don't know exactly what years they were here because there's actually 3 or 4 different addresses that are attached to the Beatles at different times that they were in Los Angeles. One up there on Blue Jay Way, one up on Curson, one in Toluca Lake. But if nothing else, if you're a Red Hot Chili Peppers fan, you're getting to look at the bass player, Flea's house. He was also in The Big Lebowski. I don't know if we'll be able to see anything over this ledge, but I'm gonna try. And I don't actually believe that anybody lives here anymore. I think this is pretty much strictly a rental property, but I could be wrong. Just seems like everything I've read, they were selling it a few years ago and you could go online and there was basically a virtual walkthrough tour of the insides. Now let's get out of here. And I just realized I didn't tell you who the architect was of this. Especially considering how ornate and detailed this Mayan temple looking house is. It's actually a Frank Lloyd Wright, one of the greatest architects of the 20th century. I believe this was built in 1923 for the Innes family, hence the name Innes Brown. So as I was leaving, I decided just to do one more search to see if I could find anything else out about this castle house, and I sure did. Looks like Bob Dylan lived here in 65 and 66. Then the Velvet Underground and Nico moved in at around that same time when he left. But this was also the Psychedelic Palace from the movie The Trip with Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper. There's a joint rolling scene that happens here. And the way I found that out is because John Philip, or was it Tom Law? It was one of the two brothers that co-owned this. His wife mentioned in an article that that was filmed here when she lived here. In case I hadn't specified it, at the time when John Philip Law owned this house, he co-owned it with his brother Tom Law as well. I just drove past this and had to pull over and take a look. It looks like it used to be a residence that maybe they tore down, or I don't know. I've got to investigate. It looks like there were stairs. It looks like there was a lot back here at one point. Yeah, that's bizarre. Wonder what the story to that is. It almost looks like that property of Bela Lugosi's that Arthur Lee and Love did their photo shoot at, but I know that wasn't here. That was up in Outpost. Pretty interesting. There was also a house that I passed that I'm gonna go back and look at real quick, walk over to, because it looks like almost like the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs type Danish style houses. Now the house directly in front of us is actually what I'm going to show you, but if you look above and beyond it, you can see the side of the Innes Brown house that I couldn't show you from where I was at. That's what that is up there. But check this out. Another witch's house. Witch's Whimsy. And it looks like this is also a historical landmark. It's got that plaque up there. Look at the house. Pretty cool. And then they've got a property that winds down and all that stuff. Even the weather vane is a witch. Riding a broomstick. I looked, I couldn't really find any celebrities attached to this house, nobody that we would know, so I'm sure somebody will look around and do their due diligence. Like I said, this wasn't actually my destination house. I just drove past it and wanted to show you. I love all this kind of crazy architecture, and look at that chimney. It's got like broken rocks and everything on the top of it covering it. Pretty cool. This neighborhood in this area has so much cool architecture. It's just this old 20s and 30s era when people were really experimenting with European house styles. Pretty cool. Look at how they did that chimney where it looks like it's broken right down the center. That's so cool. Now check out this house. This one's actually kind of, I don't know how many sides it has, but it's basically built in those hexagonal shapes. So it looks like it almost looks like the chemosphere, which I haven't vlogged yet and I've been meaning to. I will do in the future. I actually think I'm going to go back up and look around because I do know that Bela Lugosi had a house up here. Maybe that was the property. I'm going to look. Well, this is not the house, but I did some investigating and I think that rubble and that whole section in the back that I saw, that actually was Bela Lugosi's house, and that was actually where the Love album covers were done, I believe. You know, I came home and I just started thinking, and I just started mapping it all out in my mind. Now I understand the whole living situation in that house, because when right before I left, I read that the Velvet Underground had lived there, and it was in like 65, 66, and then like all of a sudden as I was driving home, like a spark went off in my head. I'm like, duh, dude. Andy Warhol produced the first Velvet Underground album, and it was the Velvet Underground and Nico, the famous Banana album. And that was actually recorded over at TTG Studios, where I used to work, my very first job here. I did a vlog on it if you want to find out about it. It's called Two Terrible Guys. And they had recorded parts of that album there. And so that's what happened. Now I get it. Velvet Underground and Nico were living there with Andy Warhol. I've been thinking about getting rid of these shoes because I don't really feel like wearing them anymore, but I hate to get rid of stuff unless I can give it to somebody that can get a use out of it. Mainly because I'm always thinking that once I get rid of it, 2 days later I'll need it. And sure enough, I was going to get rid of these this week, and I put them down here and just kept forgetting to donate them or drop them off anywhere. And sure enough, my catering job today wants us to wear white tennis shoes and a white shirt, so I guess I'm covered. Well, just waiting for the train. It's a bummer. I really wish I would have mapped out this area before I came. I could have vlogged something else down here that I've been wanting to do for about 6 months. Would have saved myself a long drive in the future. Well, gang, good